Hey everyone, I'm actually in my truck right now about to go get dinner for my family tonight. We ordered takeout from one of our favorite restaurants. We're super excited to eat it. We're starving, we can't wait. Matter of fact, I knew last night that we are gonna be eating from this restaurant tonight, so I went to bed last night anticipating eating the food, so I can't wait to have it. But that brings me up to this whole idea and this topic of waiting. I mean, who of us likes to wait for something? I mean, who wants to wait in line for something or wait for someone to call you back or wait for the next job opportunity? I mean, it's really hard for us to wait, especially in today's culture where everything's on demand. However, if something is worth the wait, we'll wait for it. Let me ask you a question. What are you waiting for? And I don't mean like wait for your friend to call you back or waiting for the next show, but what are you really waiting for? You know, we're going to take a look at the life of the disciples today. And the first thing that Jesus actually tells them to do when he ascends into heaven is wait. But as we're going to take a look at this story, we're going to see that it was well worth the wait. Now, the disciples' life without the physical presence of Jesus begins with a promise of his indwelling presence. See, Jesus had promised that the Father was going to send them the Holy Spirit, God's presence. And this presence wasn't just about a feel-good presence. This presence was about giving them power to do what Jesus had called them to do. You see, Jesus told them that they were to be witnesses, that he had told them that they needed to go make disciples of all nations. And Jesus knew that what he was calling them to do, they didn't have the ability to do. You ever felt like that before? You ever felt like that whatever you're maybe facing even right now, you just don't have the ability. You feel like sometimes maybe you're lacking something on the inside. Well, Jesus knows they need to receive power in order to do what he's called them to do. And this power, it's not some sort of a energy. It's not some sort of a Star Wars, may the force be with you. This is real power. This is the power of God in the presence of God. So now Jesus ascends up into heaven and the disciples head back into Jerusalem and they're waiting for this amazing gift that they're about to receive. Now, when the disciples are in the city, in Jerusalem, they have no idea when this gift is coming. They know what Jesus has called them to do, to be witnesses, to make disciples of all nations, but they just don't know when it's supposed to happen. So they're just waiting. And Luke tells us that the gift, the promise that Jesus said the Father was sending them, comes on the day called Pentecost. It's one of those festivals that requires all the Jews to come back to the city of Jerusalem to celebrate this feast, just like they did for Passover. So all these Jews that speak different languages because they live in different nations, they're now present in the city of Jerusalem on the day of Pentecost as God's presence shows up. Now Luke describes that God's presence showed up in epic fashion on the day of Pentecost. So he describes that it was like a violent wind and tongues of fire came and separated and fell upon each individual that was there in the room. Now this is amazing. These people start speaking and saying amazing things about God. Now, all these people that are there for Pentecost are hearing these people say these things about God in their own language. And they're perplexed, they're confused. And the reason being is because these people are from Galilee. They don't know how to speak their language. I mean, I doubt during the 10-day period that they were waiting in Jerusalem that they were like learning Rosetta Stone and learning all these languages. But God was speaking all these different languages through them so these people could hear and understand. How amazing is God? That God shows up on time, every time. And God knew that he was going to send the gift, the Holy Spirit, at the exact time when all these people from all these other nations were there to hear the message of Jesus. Now, Peter, the guy who was afraid to be associated with Jesus earlier when he was crucified, stands up and filled in the power of the Holy Spirit, gives a message about Jesus, that he's Lord, that he's the Messiah, that they have killed him, but that God raised him from the dead. And 3,000 people became Jesus followers that day. This was the birth of the movement of God, what is the church, what you and I as believers are a part of today. Isn't that worth the wait? I mean, I don't think the disciples could have written a script that would have even come close to that. They had no idea that God was at work while they were waiting. I mean, God put them in the right place at the right time around the right people. And God is at work while you and I are waiting. And you and I may be facing some difficult situations right now, but we need to know and to trust that God is at work and that God promises his power and his presence even while we are waiting. You know, the challenging thing for us is to wait I mean, I don't know about you, but I've really messed things up in my life by just not waiting on God. But this I know to be true is as hard as it is to wait on God, it's much harder to not wait on God. And as difficult as it may be for you right now to wait, you have no idea that what you're waiting for may be just right around the corner. God's next is always God's best.